It is possible to reverse symptoms of any kind of chronic illness, including autoimmunity, and without relying solely on medications. This is exactly what I will be sharing with you. I'll be sharing an example from my own practice where a client actually got off her lifelong medications, simply because she was able to reverse her symptoms and see huge improvements in her disease progression. And that's exactly what I'll be sharing in detail. So, just wanted to also let you know that I'm opening enrollment for my 6 month transformative and immersive health coaching program for women with autoimmune conditions. It's called Healing from Within, and I will be sharing a bit about that as well. The link, and you can schedule a free 45 minutes clarity call to understand if you would like to enroll for this program and to see if you're a right fit for each other, really. So just to schedule that call, I've sharing the link in the post for the Facebook group, Facebook post, and the link has been shared in the bio in the Instagram for IG. Okay, without further ado, let's sort of dive right in. I often come across people in various groups, various forums in my own, life, family, and friends. And what I often find is a feeling of, kind of resignation, that to the very fact that if I have these symptoms, if I have this particular disease that I have been diagnosed with, then I simply have to keep on taking medications for the rest of my life, because there is no other way out. This is simply what it is, and I have to be okay with it. And even if, and the sad thing is that for many people, because medications do not really address what's really going on, so they while they are on medication, they keep getting sicker and sicker. And then each of these medications have their own side effects. So to manage the side effect of these drugs, they are given other medications. So it's like a polypharmacy that goes on, and it's like a kind of a vicious cycle that most people really don't get out of. It's a unfortunate reality of our modern society. There are many reasons for that, but I'm not going to get into that today. Today is more about giving you hope and giving you, and just a view into what is possible for you if you know what steps to take. And if you because when you realize that you don't have to rely only on medications. If you're joining me live, do say hi below. It would be glad to connect with you. Leave your questions. If you're joining me on replay, if you have any questions, make sure that you post that as well, so that I can get back to you. So this was a client in her early 60s. She is a retired doctor. When she came to me, this was a couple of years ago, and she had a list of diagnoses. And what she was actually grappling with really was severe um, allergies, eczema, rashes, rhinitis. These were the things that she had come to me for. But she was also dealing with hypertension, thyroid issues, asthma. So these are the other things that came up, and of some digestive issues when we actually did a very detailed intake questionnaire. In fact, this is again very common. When people usually come to me, they come with a certain set of diagnoses. But when we start digging deeper, I find that there are other things that are really going on, which would have brought them to this point. And that is my role as a kind of a detective, is to figure out what's really going on at the crux of it, so that I can help them, not address symptom by symptom, but start laying the foundations for long-term health creation. And that's exactly what we did. So when she came to me, she was on a couple of hypertensive medications. She was on thyroid medication. She was on antihistamines every single day. She also was suffering from hay fever. So, the only way that she could manage her allergies was, and they were quite severe, because she was also, as I mentioned, she also had asthma, etc. was being on medications for them. She was also taking medications for her asthma from time to time. But what was really bothering her was her, lifelong allergies, right? And actually, this is goes hand in hand. If you did not really know, this is called the atopic march. Allergies, asthma, and eczema typically go hand in hand. So somebody who has any one of them can go on to develop the other two. Not always. Depends on their gut health, depends on the environment, but it is quite common. And the incidence is only rising, starting with very young kids. So so that's what it is. But today is more about figuring out what really sort of changed for this client, so that she actually got off some of her medications, she got off her hypertensives, she got off her antihistamine, something that she had been on for years, right? So what is it that she did? And that's exactly what I will be sharing with you in more details. But let's start at where we she was when she came to me. She was she was of the opinion that honestly diet does not really have a role to play. And this is how conventional medicine really works, that diet does not have a role to play. She was trained in the conventional medicine field, so that's what she believed too. She also believed that there was no other way of managing her chronic health issues apart from medications. Obviously, nobody had really told her how to, but she had an open mind. She had an open mind to try what we discussed, and I'll delve a bit deeper into that. But medications are of course a necessary. They are life saving, and they help to manage sometimes symptoms which are debilitating, which is usually the case of autoimmune conditions. The symptoms can be so severe that it can literally cripple a person in a sense, because they are not able to work, they are not able to uh, get off the bed, they are in so much of pain, there is so much of fatigue. So in that sense, medications actually can help to improve the quality of that person's life. But what happens is that that medication does little to, if not nothing else, actually to address why they have reached to this stage of disease. And this is why, and it does not address any underlying imbalances, it does not address any underlying deficiencies, because it does not sort of remove any triggers. I mean, unless you make changes in your life and remove triggers intentionally, that's not going to happen on its own. And in a nutshell, it does not create a healing environment. So it does not help your body to actually do what it needs to do to balance out your hormones, and for your immune system to become more regulated, to start calming down. This is especially true in the case of chronic illnesses and autoimmune condition, because there is an immune dysregulation at play. The other things, either the immune system is actually weak or it is imbalanced, or both. I mean, it goes hand in hand, right? The other couple of things that goes hand in hand in autoimmunity is, of course, poor gut health or enhanced intestinal permeability. Again, that's not going to get resolved by itself, which is why you need to also address that. That needs to be addressed. And of course, there is always a trigger, and it's usually an environmental trigger which is at play. That needs to be addressed as well. So all of these things do not change by themselves, which is exactly why you need to, and this is what my client did in this particular case, which actually got her off her medications, which she had been on for 30, 40 years. Because at the end of the day, depression is not a Prozac deficiency. You might have heard of Prozac, it's an antidepressant. But medications are, we don't take medications because we lack that particular chemical, which is why in functional medicine we say that depression is not a Prozac deficiency. It's not as if you take Prozac, your depression will automatically go away. The symptoms do get addressed, and some people do need to take it. And there's nothing wrong with that. But at the same time, it's important for you to understand that, and whether you are really addressing the root causes of your chronic illness, right? So again, in autoimmunity, medications do help with pain, do help with other debilitating symptoms. It helps to make your life easier, so that you can at least start working on other root causes, which is which is what, and we know what is at play here, right? So that's the sometimes what happens is that when we only take a conventional approach, we feel that we don't know enough about, in particular, about autoimmune conditions. All we can do is suppress the symptoms with medications, and that's actually what we end up doing. But that's not true. We do know what's going on, and I've talked about this before. I've written about it in my blogs, that we do know what's going on. We know what is the perfect storm below autoimmunity, and we do know what's going on with allergies, eczema, asthma, and many other chronic illnesses. And we do not need to wait for all the answers and all proper, accurate diagnosis to start creating a healing environment. We can start, minimizing, maximizing, and prioritizing long-term health creation. So minimizing means that we get rid of toxins, we get rid of negative beliefs, we get rid of anything else, or address maybe an infection, a chronic infection that has been going on. Maximizing means that we we get more, maybe rest, more, a better sleep, better eating hygiene. We maximize nutrients. Maybe a bit more movement is required, so we maximize whatever is required by your body. And of course, then we prioritize, like once we know, and I'm going to talk about a framework which will help you to do just this. And then we prioritize what is really important for your unique body's requirements. And in coming back to this client, this is, we worked together for 3 months, and then she was working with me for another 4 to 5 months as on a maintenance mode, because she saw a lot of improvements within the first 3 months itself. So she chose to work with me on a more maintenance and sustaining her health after that. It depends on the client, of course. And we used a three-part framework that I use in my practice, which is simplify, reconnect, and sustain. So the first stage is where I simplify long-term health creation. I help you to understand what's really going on, what is at the root. So in this particular client's case, we knew there was something going on in her gut, so we addressed that. She was already actually a vegetarian, but we also took off dairy, making sure that she had adequate protein intake. So we made sure that she understood what was going on, and simplifying things like eating hygiene. So she was not very cognizant of the fact that she needed to eat properly. How you eat is also as important as what you're eating. That was a big area for her. In fact, mindful eating practices and proper eating hygiene played a very, very important role in this particular client, because she was not really paying attention to how she was eating, and she, in her own words, was a highly strung person. So she was stressed out many of the times, she felt demotivated. So we worked on all of that. And reconnect is about reconnecting with your body, connecting the dots between what's going on, what are your symptoms, and what's going on in your life. She was worried about her upcoming son's wedding. But then she, over a period of time, she learned how to really focus and start listening to what her body was trying to tell her, listening to, pay attention to her body's symptoms, and that played a huge role in this particular client's case, right? She actually figured out that in order to get better, she had to first learn to sort of connect with herself. While she was, she used to meditate. Well, there was one component which was missing, which was self-compassion, and we figured that out over a period of time. We often, what we do is, when we focus only on exercise and only on diet and maybe even supplements and lab testing, we forget that it's a mind, body, spirit that we are talking about. It's not just body, it's not just mind, and of course it may not be just the spirituality part of it. We are, as a whole person, all of these need to be in sync with each other. And just focusing on the physical aspects do not, may not, we may not see much improvements, and even if we do, it's usually short lived. Just focusing on the emotional mental aspect may also not show long term improvements because there might be something going on in your gut and elsewhere in the immune system. So it's a combination that always works, and I find that most people get stuck at the diet and exercise level, but that's not enough. That's not enough to see long term health. And again, in coming back to this client, we first addressed a lot of the basic things: eating hygiene, as I mentioned, sleep hygiene, connecting with her body, connecting with herself, finding a purpose. She was retired, of course, finding meaning, um, and then sustaining it is also important. So which is where having certain tools, like in your toolkit, becomes really important. So a self-care plan is a big part of my coaching program. So we put in place something that was going to work for this client, and we worked on how she would actually continue to work on her health even after we stopped working with each other. And that's a key aspect of my coaching program, where as a coach, not only of course do I provide you guidance, resources, but I also empowered you to make the changes that are absolutely critical in seeing long-term health. Because not only I want you to get well, I want you to stay well. I certainly don't want you to slip back the minute you stop working with me, or maybe even a year or 2 years or 3 years down the line. I want you to create new healthy habits which will help you to continue to create a healing environment for yourself. And the only way that you can do that is by being connected to what your body needs from you, is by having a certain self-care plan in place. Body acceptance becomes a big part. So again, in this client's case, and this is a problem area for many women, especially those who are already dealing with a chronic health issue. And self acceptance, body acceptance, big tool in that is actually self compassion. This was something that was lacking in this client's life. As I mentioned, she was already well on her spiritual journey, but one key element that was missing for self compassion. And you might be thinking, what does it have to do with getting off her medications? But it has absolutely everything to do with getting better and reversing your symptoms, and reversing your disease progression. And it works every single time, because as I mentioned, it's your mind, it's your body, everything is interconnected, right? And that's the reason we need to use a mind body approach. And in this client's case, self compassion proved to be the antidote to the stress that she was feeling, the low motivation levels, which was not allowing her to actually exercise or move her body as she needed to, because she also was overweight. That was actually adding to her other health issues. And she lost weight, her mood improved, she felt more motivated. Her mood actually had helped her to make the other changes. And of course, as I mentioned, self compassion played a big role in her particular case. And all of this together allowed her to really start seeing improvements in her disease symptoms, whether it's hypertension, whether it's her thyroid markers. And of course, the first thing that improved was her allergy symptoms and her skin health. That's something that you see right away, whether you do any tests or not. So she saw improvements in that. She figured out that going off dairy most of the time would help her with that. Um, you know, uh, Avoiding consumption of fermented foods would also help her when she was going through a flare up, because it contains high levels of histamine. Histamine is a problem with anyone who has allergies, eczema, or asthma. So, all these things helped her to put in place a long term health plan. And she saw the results. She got off some of her lifelong medications, and she was completely thrilled. At the end of 3 months, she chose to work with me for another several months, just to make sure that she was able to continue on that path. As I mentioned, that the objective of my program is to not only help you to get well, but to stay well. And yes, and that was it. And we are still in touch, and I ensure that I remain in touch with my clients, sort of stay connected. And it just never ceases to bring a big smile to my face when I see the relief on my clients' faces, to see them free of pain, to see them more energetic, to see them enjoying life, to see them feeling like their old selves again. That's something that I find women, keep wishing for more often than not. Like, I wish I could feel like my old self again. But you can certainly do that. You can do that by addressing the root causes, by addressing the imbalances, the nutritional deficiencies, and you can reverse many of your, if not all your disease symptoms, without relying only on medications, right? Because you can get off certain medications. It depends, of course, on person to person, but it's certainly possible. So if you're looking to explore further how I can help you, as I mentioned, my program is open for enrollment, and towards end of this month, you can schedule a free 45 minutes clarity call where you will get more clarity, and sort of engage with me, so that you can see whether we can work together, we are right fit for each other. So make sure that you head to the link in the bio for Instagram, and I'm sharing the link below for the Facebook post. And I'll see you again soon.